there, and welcome to Reflections with Rhonda Jones. And today we have a full house. My co-host is Monica Livingston. We have Kimberly Johnson and Ruthie Wyburn. So we have four heads up here full of knowledge and useless trivia and lots of female opinions, and we hope you enjoy it. I was thinking the other day, we call the show Reflections because we reflect on a lot of information that we've been taught, and we reflect on a lot of things going on in the world, the country. But it could be called a lot of other things like reflections and ruminations and criticisms and observations. But we try to bring to you things that are kind of contemporary things going on right now in the news or our lives. And sometimes we have a boring week, and then we have to make up a lot of stuff. So you'll never know. But the first thing we want to talk about today is, of course, Monday, tomorrow, the 12th, we celebrate as a country Veterans Day. And Ruthie is certainly represented in a semi-red, white, and blue motif. We're going to call it that because
not a true red, but
it's not true red.
Reddish red. No, orangish red.
That's right. It looks good from here, but I don't have my glasses on. But I do want to say that, it seems like a lot of people are really down on veterans lately, or obviously the wars that are going on. And I really want us to separate the politics from Veterans Day, and just push that out to the side and concentrate on our men and women that have gone before us for whatever reason, that they were involved in a branch of service or a war, and obviously the ones current that are there. Let's just honor them. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah. Well, I think the kids, the men and the women, and there are, young men and women that are practically just still kids in a lot of respects compared to some of us.
All of us.
But you know what I'm saying? They joined up for the military to serve our country in whatever capacity that calls for. They aren't the ones deciding to go to war. They aren't the ones to, like you said, be involved in the politics of whether we're in a war and whether that war is a just war or not a just war, or because of oil or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. They've signed on for a job, and they're doing their job to the best of their ability and sacrificing. The sacrifices that these men and women make, being away from their families. Sometimes they sacrifice body parts, limbs, sometimes it's their lives. So I think that honoring them, aside from how we feel about whether we should be in a war, is what we need to do. Mm-hmm. I've seen the sign, support the troops. Supporting the troops doesn't mean that you're supporting that we're over in Afghanistan or in Iraq or, wherever troops are stationed at in war zones and stuff. You're supporting the men and the women themselves that have chosen to protect our freedoms. So,
Kimberly?
Yeah, absolutely what Monica said.
Ditto. She did a good job. She sure did. Ruthie?
Well, I think we should, with all of them, there are some veterans that we don't think of as veterans because they never went across the waters. They stayed here, but they help out in other ways than fighting a war. Mm-hmm. They help out in disasters. They help by just the things they do in their neighborhood. So, but they're still veterans, whether they ever fire a weapon or not. They're still a veteran. They're still giving up their life or way of life to serve the people around them.
Right.
Very good. That's a very good insight.
And, at my children's school and the neighboring schools here, because we are a military community, you all the time see young men and women in the military that come into the schools to help with different activities that go on. Like I know the school they were at last year, they had men and women that would come the first few weeks of school to help make sure that the kids got on and off the buses safely and got directed to where their classes were, and things like that Yeah, they don't have to do they, but they do it, and most of them come out and do it with a smile and are courteous and kind. They help with the carnivals, and they're there for PTAs, and we've even had them come here when we've had a community event before, and
So, I mean, if we can't separate, and this goes a long way in saying something important too, if we can't separate people from their philosophy or the philosophy that's put on them, then how can you ever love somebody or deal with somebody that's different than you if you can't separate that out? Because all of us have, most all of us have different philosophies. So take a person in the military, and we know that they're not making the rules and regulations.
Right.
They're abiding by them. Take somebody in a church or in a cult or in Afghanistan. They're people like we are, different philosophies, and I believe that Jesus taught us to love the person. And everybody has this baggage that they're going to bring with them concerning how they were raised. And if we can't separate our own men and women in uniform from the philosophy of politics, how can we ever learn to love somebody really, really different from us?
Right.
And so I think we should try that, this week. And we say it a lot here. We say, go find somebody to love that's so different than yourself, and put yourself to the test and see if you can overcome, gender bias and racial biases and even economic, disparities. And hopefully we're not shallow or too shallow that we can't do that. So anybody have any good ideas about, how to go about seeking someone out different than you? It's easy to say to go do it, but what are some ideas on doing that or in doing that?
I don't have any clue, because I was sitting here thinking, do I even know anybody that's radically different from
Right.
I mean, we have differences, but not anything that's extreme. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
I mean,
really
I
good.
think that, as I've become more and more involved with the Girl Scouts,
Well, that's
with
true,
my daughter
yeah.
and stuff, and with the organization itself, and actually going to events and stuff, you do run across people that are in troops that are more affluent troops than yourself, or, troops that are from less affluent areas than yourself. And a situation has recently come up where there's been a lot of discussion about, the looks of a building or the place or the neighborhood where, the building is that the people meet in. And one of the things that was pointed out is, you get these girls that have families and they're in these project type environments that is their home. They didn't choose to live there, but they're there. And they want an opportunity, and they need the opportunity that, Girl Scouts does provide for girls to, encourage them to be all they can be, to try what they want to try and do what they want to do as far as, positive things. I mean, I don't want them out there trying drugs, of course, if that's what they want to try, but they want them to know that they can be more than just a housewife if that's what they want to do. If they want to be a housewife, they want to be an artist, they want to be the president, whatever you want to do, go for it. Try these different things. Try painting, try horseback riding, archery, camping, get in the outdoors, and serve your community, And so these girls need a place to meet, and you're not going to bus them to some community center in or country club in some rich neighborhood. You've got to meet them where they're at. And that's not always going to be a pristine, spick and span place. And so I'm starting to be around more and more, different and diverse, situations. And I think in the world today, you're going to start encountering more and more. I mean, you have your people that you associate with on a daily and weekly basis, but, the world is changing, and you do encounter a lot of different families, grandparents raising kids from a single home. It's not everybody just mom and dad and, 2 kids there at the house. I mean, you just come across so many different things. And so each day, I think, I don't know how to seek it out, but, I think each day that we live, we're more apt to come into contact with.
Yeah.
If you are a Republican, seek out a Democrat and listen to them. Read something that they wrote. see what kind of a bill that they may have, co-sponsored, and see, don't close your mind off to things. And, I've been very guilty of that in my lifetime. If I'm a Republican and then a Democrat gets up to say something, I'm just going to do this because I'm immature, I guess. I mean, I don't know any other word but that. But the older I get, it seems like, and the more people that come into my life that try to teach me things, I can say, let me listen now. And I'm not perfect there yet. I want to be in that area, but I need to listen to more diverse opinions than myself. Now, Ruthie, being the elder of the group, or the one with more experience in life.
The wise one.
Elder's fine.
What do you think? I mean, how can you, being who you are, go find somebody that's different and try to respect their point of view?
Well, I was thinking about that, and really about the only difference between me and somebody else is I don't work and they do. I mean, it may be a man, it may be a woman, but still, they're the same. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the way I look at it. But I've had a lot of years to look differently and learn to look this way. And I don't look for the differences. Everybody's got their own way, and who's to say it might be better than mine? And the only way I'll know is to listen to what they have to say and watch what they do, and then I can say, oh, that's better. That's something I need to do. Or I can say, no, that's not something I need to incorporate. But like I say, when I look at people, about the only difference I see is that they're working and I'm not, or they're a mother and I'm not. Right. I mean, I'm a mother, but I'm not raising young children. That's right. what I mean by not being a mother. And that's really about the only difference I see in people at my stage of life.
Well, I will say this for Ruthie. To me, she's more forward-thinking than most women her age, or most people her age. She has more of a, wouldn't you say, Kimberly? She has more of an open mind.
She's not just people her age. She's
yes.
She's one of the most open people I've ever met.
That's true.
Right.
Right. I mean, she'll entertain something, and you would never think Ruthie would buy on to something, but and she doesn't do it just like this. I mean, she thinks about it. She checks her spirit, I guess, or she gives it time to rattle around in there, and for the most part, she really goes along with a lot more things, and than I would naturally. She's a more accepting, I think.
And that's more time to work on.
Well, we're trying to give you a great compliment, because in life you don't find a lot of people that way, especially older people.
And some people, even though they've had the years to get there,
yeah,
they go in the opposite direction.
Well, to me, a closed mind is like a stagnant pool. All it has is dirt and grit. If you've got an open mind, you're like a stream, and things can flow into you, and you can accept or reject. That's the way I look at life. So
it's a good way to look.
Sure, y'all heard it right from Ruthie. All right, so basically what we're saying, two things right now is, honor a veteran. Number two, we want you to find somebody different than you and just experiment and see if you have something in common. And even if you don't, we know we have the main thing in common is we are all God's children. Mm-hmm. All God's children. All right, let's move on to, let's see, Kimberly has something interesting she's been wanting to talk about, or...
Yeah, I had hoped to get to this before Halloween, but...
Yeah, that's all right.
That's okay. I was watching on YouTube different marriage proposals, and this one young couple were really into haunted houses, and the guy actually said that he knew that this young lady loved him when she told him that if he were ever attacked by a zombie and turned, then she would put a bullet in him herself to keep him from suffering, and that's how he knew it was true love.
I'm not sure Ricky's buying onto this one, though.
I'll have to think about that.
Well, I mean, apparently it worked for them, but so he's going to propose to her in a set-up haunted house. So he's got rented this building or something, and it's an old, creepy-looking warehouse, and he's got a surprise party upstairs. So he's taking her through this house with the alleged owner of the warehouse, whatever it was, telling him, oh, this is the floor where we're getting the cold spots, and they've got this equipment, and then the equipment starts going off. And he's acting freaked out, so the girl's getting freaked out. And then they open this door, everybody jumps out and yells, surprise.
I would probably strangle him.
I would have dropped dead. There would be, but apparently he knew her. She thought it was great. She thought it was a birthday party because it was her birthday. And he proposed. And I guess it's good to know somebody that knows you that well, that would know that you would appreciate it, because I'd have fell out on the floor.
Yeah.
So
I didn't see that one. I saw the one where the couple was in a plane. This was off Yahoo. And they were in a plane, and she suggests, by the way, I might have thought twice about it, but all of a sudden he's like telling her that the controls are failing and to get out the manual, and she's flipping through the manual page by page.
My gosh.
And he's up there knowing what's going on, and she has no clue, and she's flipping through the pages and gets to this one page, and it's like, will you marry me, or something like that on the page. I don't know the exact way it was or whatever. And apparently she took it well and didn't. I mean, I might have beat him to death when we got on the ground.
Once you landed.
Yes,
Sure.
once we landed.
Oh my goodness! I mean, people can have heart attacks when you do stuff like that.
I probably would have.
Yeah, I don't.
But don't you think when someone does something outrageous like that, they know the other person enough to know if they will accept it?
Yeah.
Because love brings knowledge. There's no
You
two ways
hope.
about it. No, it does. Love brings knowledge.
Yep.
Sometimes it's a little longer because some people kind of hold themselves in instead of being an open book. And in order for you to be an open book to somebody, you have to love that person too. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. This man loved this woman enough to find out what she liked, what she didn't like, what she could accept, what would freak her out.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but that's how I feel inside. So.
No.
It makes sense to me.
So I was curious as to how everybody was proposed to.
Well, it was my birthday, and my husband decided to take me on a joyride through town. I had no idea what was going on. He was turning places in town that, I don't drive, that were, probably not the most savory parts of town. I wasn't really sure where we were going, and then I thought, well, maybe he's arranged some kind of surprise party or something, or we're going to dinner and we have to get there at a certain time. And then finally, as we got to the last part of our journey, I realized that we were going back to a spot in Pensacola, the Bluffs, off of Scenic Highway, where we had gone on one of our first kind of outing dates, if you want to call it that. And we walked around and talked and stuff, and he was kind of trying to tickle me and poke at me and mess around, and we were walking back and forth, and not that messy. Oh goodness!
I've never been so disappointed in my son.
Leave it to my mother-in-law.
I understood what you meant.
Anyways, yeah, he
Ruth
was
being more open-minded.
Yes, that's not what I meant. Anyways, and so, he was kind of poking me and tickling me and stuff. And the next thing I know, he had my hand, let go of my hand, and kind of dropped down to one knee. And before I knew it, words were coming out of his mouth. And he says my mouth was kind of hanging open. And my answer was, uh-huh. So that was about all he could mouth when I realized that he was actually proposing to me. And then we got lost and couldn't find the path back to get out of there, and it had gotten dark. And so it was a lot of fun, very romantic for me.
All right, Ruthie, right? Kimberly, you're...
Which time?
Well, let's see. I know you're not like Elizabeth Taylor. Let's go for both of them.
Okay, well, with my first husband, my sister and her friend, who were kids, suggested that we should elope and get married. And so he said, what do you think about that? And I said, that's okay, because he was in the military. And so we eloped and got married. His mom and dad and uncle drove us to Pascagoula, Mississippi. And we got married, but when he put down the birth date, he didn't put down his birth date. He put down his sister's birth date, so it made him not old enough to get married. So his mom had to sign for him. But it lasted 48 and a half years, so if it starts out crooked. And with the second one, he just said, you know, if we're going to get married, you're going to have to quit making these trips back to Idaho. And I said, okay.
Nice. Very good.
To the point, huh?
Yep.
Hey, it worked.
Well, when you're older, you don't want to waste too much time.
Well, Ruthie's her first husband was sick, and he died of cancer.
No.
No.
Myasthenia gravis.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. But he had colon cancer, right?
Yeah, but he had that and lived
That's amazing.
30 years
That's amazing.
Wow.
afterwards. So
That was amazing.
And he had no chemo and no radiation. He just had surgery and changed his diet and went on a vitamin regimen, and he was healthy the rest of his life until he got this
Okay.
disease. So
Wow, that's sad. What about you, Kimberly?
Well, Rick says I asked him, but we had been dating for a while, and not a big long while, and he was, are we exclusive? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, so where are we going with this? And he says, like, where are you wanting to go with this? and I was looking to marry him, but later he got me the ring and proposed at Red Lobster. It was very romantic.
Yeah, that
But
sounds romantic.
we met whenever I was in my Pentecostal phase. Pentecostal, not Pentecostal because I didn't do the hair thing, but full gospel, I guess, charismatic.
Yeah.
Okay, and he saw me sing in church, and he said he went home and prayed that he could be my husband.
Oh,
And
my goodness.
I always tell the kids you got to be careful what you wish for and pray for, because you're liable to get it.
Well, what's that Garth Brooks song, Unanswered Prayers? So,
Well, that was an answered one. You have to
I
ask
know.
him how he feels.
It could go either way.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Dr. Jones and I always knew that even when we were kids, so I'm going to say when we were like in elementary school, it just took a little longer to get there. So, but I guarantee you if somebody tried to scare me,
Yeah.
but I understand what Ruthie's saying if they know you like that kind of thing, but who would like almost going down in a plane, like if it was on fire?
Well, I guess they
or-
were both kind of like thrill seeker type people and really loved action and doing stuff. I mean, they were up in a plane together, just the two of them. It wasn't like a massive plane. It was a two-passenger. I think he was flying and she was in the back seat. But,
Wow.
yeah. That wouldn't work for me, so I'm glad my husband knew that.
What you like.
Yeah.
Be tickled and poked and prodded.
Oh.
I want to hear about the first kiss. I've heard this story before, but since a crew member reminded me, let's hear about the first kiss. Let's hear about the first kiss. Please, Mo. Come on.
No, I'll save that for another show.
Okay, we don't want to embarrass anybody.
Too late.
Sorry about that.
Probably 2 shades darker than any pink or red on my shirt or fingernails.
Well, I mean, it's your turn to do the next topic, so you better gather yourself together.
Okay.
Bon Jovi.
Oh, Bon Jovi's the top.
Kimberly said Bon Jovi's the top.
Well,
Well, first, let me ask Ruth, do you know who Bon Jovi is?
okay.
I love
First
you
of
so
all,
much.
Bon Jovi is a gentleman who is a musician. He was the head of a band called Bon Jovi. His name is John Bon Jovi, and he was in an '80s band, rock music, and he comes from Philadelphia. And the reason we're bringing him up is on Facebook, I think it's about a week ago, maybe a little over a week ago, I saw a post about a place he has, a restaurant called Soul Kitchen. And this restaurant has no prices on the menu. What they ask is that you come, you eat, If you want to give something towards your meal, you give it. If you can't give something towards your meal, just donate your time. They've been open over a year. Their year anniversary was October 19th of 2012. They opened in 2011. And it says that let me get to the actual thing here. Just a moment.
Well, you go ahead. We have a viewer comment. My dear precious sister in crime, Tina Furlow. She says, is reminding us of the quote, that a mind is like a parachute and it only works when it's open. Then, of course, a crew member has mentioned that sometimes if your mind is too open, all your brains will fall out. So I guess there's a healthy
fine line there.
and there's a happy medium in most things.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not wanting to pull up. Okay, here it goes. Hold on. Anyways, the restaurant's been open right at a year. I think it's something like 11,000 people that they've served meals to. And they've had, countless hours of people that have donated their time and, done work and helped to serve meals to others. And that's not the only thing that he's been involved in. Apparently,
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Doesn't he build homes, or he's built some homes for Katrina victims?
He's actually was the first one named as a founding ambassador for Habitat for Humanity.
Wow,
I didn't know that.
And it said that in 2005, he's been raising awareness since 2005. He provided funds to build 6 homes in Philadelphia and built the homes right along the homeowners, the families that were to get the homes. He is a part owner, or one of the owners of the Philadelphia Soul Arena football team, and which doesn't, I guess it's now non-existent. But after the Katrina, the floods and stuff in Katrina from the hurricane and everything, he donated $1 million to help build 28 Habitat for Humanity homes in Louisiana.
wow.
So this is somebody who, is a big name star, but they're putting their money where their mouth is and helping people.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing, he didn't just do it for Philadelphia where he's from, but he's done it for Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like he's interested in people.
Mm-hmm.
And interested in people's lives, in trying to help them. And, I just applaud that. He also gave, in 2005, he donated, or his band donated, $1 million to the Angel Network Foundation through the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Wow.
And they have a John Bon Jovi Soul Foundation, which is basically, it's been in existence since 2006, and it helps to combat issues that force families and individuals into economic despair.
What strikes me about this, Mo, is I would say quite a few, I don't want to categorize the churches by saying they're just fundamentalist type churches, but a lot of people would say his music is of the devil, and rock and roll is bad, and but yet you have somebody that has something in their heart to do for other people. And to me, it just goes to show you that what we were talking about earlier, we all don't have to have the same philosophy, don't have to like the same music, but there's something in us, I believe, that God has put in there to give us the ability or the want to help other people.
Right.
And if we don't, God still has given it to us, but we've just suppressed it and just patted it down. And so I applaud somebody. I couldn't tell you maybe 2 or 3 songs that the guy sings, but because it's not my type of music, but that's fantastic.
Well, I could probably sing some, but I'm not going to, so don't ask.
No, forthcoming with information today.
Just selective about the information. But, I do. I think it's wonderful. To see somebody, you see celebrities, that give back, and that's great. And a lot of them, it's just a donation. But to hear, you know, he's got a restaurant that, you know, is out there that is, it's not just he's giving to people, but he's inspiring other people to give. You know, if you have to come in and get a meal and you can't pay for it, great, that's fine, don't worry about it. Give your time. He's teaching people to give as well, and to not just be takers. And I think that, you know, sometimes you can give and give and give to people, and they just learn to take and take and take.
Right.
And I think that in, you know, like the Habitat for Humanity, where they do build homes for families, you know, they have to do a certain amount of work towards getting this home built, and they have to, you know, do things so it's not just a taking, you know, experience. And then, you know, with this kitchen that he has, this restaurant, to, you know, inspire people to, you know, if you need the food, work, you know, just give your time, and, you know, things like that are awesome. You know?
Yeah, it's kind of like an honor system. I know when I was growing up, there was a lot of people that had an honor system where you just, if you wanted to use their boat, you just took the boat and you put the money in a place that has been, you know, designated. And during a lot of those honor systems, people don't lose money. There's a dairy farm in our area that does the same thing now. They sell milk, and it's $3 a gallon, and you can go and pick up that milk and leave your money.
Wow.
There's nobody there to take the money because he works, and I guess his wife does too. But anyway, and I know there's a place in Alberta where they have just some produce setting up by an old building, and you go in and he puts the price there, and you go in and you get what you want and put the money down. It's an honor system.
Wow.
And he very seldom ever loses produce that he doesn't have money for. So, and this guy's restaurant is similar to that, you know, and I think if the more you give people, as a general rule, there's some that's going to take advantage of it, that, you know, and you expect that. But the more that you give people the opportunity to do good, they're going to do good.
Right. And you know, I mean, you see it with a lot of celebrities. You know, like you said, some people are quick to judge his music or other people's music, or just other people. You know, I mean, like Ellen DeGeneres. People are, you know, bash her left and right because, you know, of
her lifestyle.
Her lifestyle choice. And, you know, that's what they believe, that she's, you know, chose this, or whether she's born this way. But they're going to bash her. But the woman is a very giving person, from what I can tell. She, you know, like this one school, I watched her show, and she built a library for the school, and the school's in a poor area, so she made sure that they had a bunch of food and coats and toys for the kids at Christmas time. And you know, I've watched numerous shows where she's, you know, given, like a lady that was in our audience that just, you know, brought a smile to her face and other people's faces, a home and a car, and, you know, just blessing people. And you know, I think, I mean, a certain amount of that is going to go, you know, people will say, oh, well, you know, ratings and, you know, her popularity. But I mean, people can get ratings without giving away tons of money to organizations and to charities and stuff.
That's true.
I mean, they can find ways to get the fame. I mean, look at these celebrities out there drinking and drugging and you know, acting fool. They're going to get lots of, you know, attention, but they're not doing anything to bless another person. So I think the big thing here is that, you know, you can judge somebody by, you know,
what you think is right or wrong.
But, you know, not entertaining the whole of who they are and what they do and what they believe, and, you know, the spirit that's in them, and you know.
Absolutely. And I love Ellen. She is awesome.
That's like the verse in the Bible that says, judge not that you may not be judged. They're not talking about the judgment of God. They're talking about you judging your neighbors and your neighbors judging you. And so that's what you need to think about. If I'm judging this person that they're not any good, somebody else is going to judge me the same way.
Right.
And it's wrong. I mean, I don't have the right to tell you, you know, that you're not doing things the way they should be done, because your way is not necessarily my way.
Right. That is true. You know, last week we talked about how to give an adult advice or correct an adult that you think is doing something wrong. And there are times when we have to do these things, but it's hard, because we're not always privy to all the information, and we're making these snap judgments, and we just have to be very careful with that. And I believe all humanity is good for the majority of it, and we do get off track. We do become greedy and all these other things, and ego gets in the way, and that's where our problems lie. But since we are all children of God, and God is in all, and we teach that. And matter of fact, Dr. Jones went over that last Sunday evening, and he did a marvelous job, saying there is one body and one spirit, and there's one God over all, in all, and through all. And that all means all. Some alls in the Bible, they don't, and you'd have to have the kind of expertise in the language and the culture and everything to know when all means all. And so I'm thankful that we're all, I do believe this. There are a lot of things in the Old Testament that they're hard to swallow, but these are these people's experiences for the most part. But there are a lot of proverbs that make a whole lot of sense. And I said that to say this, which Solomon, I believe he said that there's nothing new under the sun, and that is so true. Of anything I've ever heard in the Old Testament, that's been the truth. We're all the same. We all do things just about alike, maybe for different reasons, but I can pretty much predict what the human psyche will do. And everything's circular. It'll come back around, and we'll be doing the same thing in 100 years as we did today. And so we can take some of those proverbs, and I thought about the other day, across the street, we had a couple, or they were hollering at each other. I guess the woman, she must have been drinking or something. I'm just making an assumption here. But she was loud. And I thought about the one that says, I don't know the whole thing, but something about it's better to be on the roof of a house than in a house with a brawling woman. And I thought about that. So we can use some of those quips to live by. We just have to be smart enough to know what's what. Okay, let's move on to do you have anything? We've got about 3 or 4 minutes. Let's see if we have another viewer comment here. Let's see. Go ahead.
I haven't seen one come in. Oh, I do want to say something. I noticed this week, and I read it several places on Yahoo and different things that everybody's concerned about the people in New York and the areas, not just in New York, but the areas that were hit with big superstorm Sandy. And what I read is that sometimes people's giving can almost be more of a problem. It's creating another problem because people sometimes are giving things that cannot be used. Like if a person's home is destroyed and they're living in tented places or they're living in motel rooms, they don't need vases and vacuum cleaners and things like that. So, these things are having to be transported, and that costs money. They're not being able to be used, and sometimes people, unfortunately, donate things that don't work. So, you may be causing more of a burden on an organization or on an area to suddenly have all this stuff that's been transported to them that they can't use. So before you give, seek out, some wisdom on what to give. Of course, money is probably the best thing because then, a lot of people are having their needs provided with stuff because they're in temporary places like a hotel or whatever, but they're needing food and, either donating a canned good, but the canned good has to be transported. And they said sometimes a single canned good could cost $15, $25 to get from point A to point B. So, money doesn't cost that much to transport because you can write a check you can make a transfer electronically.
Or you can do this too. Dr. Jones and I have done this before. On your cell phone, you can text, I think it's 90999, and then you just write in the subject line Red Cross, and they'll donate $10 off your cell phone bill. And we've done that. And you know, the Red Cross is very reputable, and they will. We've experienced that, you know, from hurricanes we've been through. They come by and they give you food and, you know, keep you warm and hot chocolate and just stuff like that. And
right,
so,
and they did say that you know, giving to the Red Cross monetarily, because the food is going to be provided and is going to be there, and the water and things like that. But you know, sending, you know, like I said, vases and vacuum cleaners and stuff, that's stuff they may need in the future. But right now, when they're displaced from their homes, that's not necessarily stuff that's needed, and it ends up causing, you know, a burden because it's transported for one, and it costs that money.
Did they actually send a vase? Somebody sent a vase to somebody?
They were saying vases and microwaves and vacuum cleaners. And I understand, like you said, if someone has a fire, you want to, you know, clothes and shoes and things they need to start over again. Right. But they're not needing this right now. Yeah.
This isn't the time for pretty.
Well,
No.
So I just thought I'd throw that out there because people are
tornadoes
donating.
up in Alabama. I know a church that took a truckload of stuff up there, and they took like screwdrivers and chainsaws and food, but they drove the people. Two gentlemen from this congregation drove this truck full of this stuff up there, and they knew they needed chainsaws for cutting down trees and this type of stuff. And so they took some of this stuff because they were getting a lot of money and a lot of food and a lot of clothes. But this was stuff they needed that most people didn't think about. But because we had been through Ivan, the people in this congregation thought about that. And like I say, two gentlemen drove the truck up there. The church furnished the truck. So all it cost was the gas, and that came out of the church's fund.
Right.
But
and they're saying that there are a lot of organizations that are doing that.
Yeah.
They're not putting it on.
And of course, this was close enough that they could do that. But to go all the way to New Jersey, that would be a little bit more expensive. But maybe the idea could get out, and some of the people around there could do the same thing.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah, to definitely have a distribution point that's local, you know, and that's why it's so important to give to the organizations that are prepared to do that. You know, like if we talk about this sometimes, if somebody's already doing a good work in drilling wells and providing things like that, you know, why reinvent the wheel? You know, give to the people that, you know, like, you know, whatever you say about James Robinson, and you could probably say a bunch, you know, about me, but you can say a bunch about him, whatever. But they do a good job giving people water. Yeah, right. And so, you know, donate to somebody that does a good job, and you don't have to start from scratch. Well, it's about time to wrap things up. Next week now, we've got a lot of topics we didn't get to. We've got some funny things next week, and also we're going to find out about Monica's first kiss. And I hope to goodness she has the guts to share it. I already know the story in part, but I do want to hear the whole thing. Maybe I won't be on the show next week, so you won't be embarrassed to say it from your mother-in-law. But maybe we'll get Ruthie's first kiss too.
I don't remember my first kiss. You know, age does help with some things.
That's right. It's a good excuse. A lot like Ronald Reagan, that poor guy, he had Alzheimer's, but everybody thought he was, you know, really evading something. Like, you know, I just can't remember what happened during the Iran-Contra affair, but but he really couldn't remember. Probably, you know, he was losing it. Bless his soul. Alrighty, folks, we had a good time with you today, and you'll see us all back next week, and we're going to hear some juicy tidbits from Monica. All right. See you later.
Bye-bye.